When I moved to the States from Korea in 1995, in one summer back in college, I suggested to one of my closest friends that he should visit me in Korea. He laughed awkwardly and said, "Isn't there a war going on there?" I tried to convince him otherwise by explaining food, culture, mountains. But the more I tried to explain to him, the more he was talking about Japanese food, Japanese culture. Looking back, I realized that it wasn't that he hated Korea, but it was more like it wasn't a country that he imagined visiting or admiring or being a part of.
As South Korea transformed from a war-torn nation into a global cultural powerhouse, American media transformed alongside it, reshaping how Koreans and Korean Americans are perceived within America. Unlike earlier portrayals that frame Korea as foreign or insignificant, contemporary Korean media presents South Korea as modern, emotionally resonant, and aspirational. Because Korea's rapid rise in popularity in the media mirrors American ideals of reinvention and self-made success, Korean Americans are put in a uniquely admired cultural position distinct from other East Asian countries in contemporary American society. Before K-dramas and K-pops and before whenever you guys were born, except for Miss Wong. Oh wait, no, she's not that old. Many Americans were unaware of its existence in the first place because famously, the Korean War was known as the Forgotten War because it was overshadowed by World War II and the Vietnam War. The few representations of South Korea in American media portrayed it as a war-torn, foreign, and almost pitiful country. An example of this is the CBS television sitcom MASH, which grew in popularity in the early 70s. MASH revolved around a U.S. Army medical unit during the Korean War, having a powerful impact on how the American public perceived South Korea. South Korea was seen as a country that was dependent on the US to save it from its occupation. Since this was one of the only outlets and showcases of Korean culture, South Korea was seen as not quite as developed as Japan and not quite as culturally influential as China. In a way, you could say it was stuck in the middle. Because of this, Korea was seen as any other Asian country, as most Americans weren't knowledgeable about Korean culture or traditions.
Back then, being Korean in America meant that you had to explain yourself quite often. Most people didn't know much about Korea besides the war, and if they knew anything about Asia, it was usually Japan or China. Even when people respected me professionally, there was still this feeling that Korean culture was foreign, unfamiliar, and somehow less important than other Asian countries.
Boy, where are you from?
New Jersey.
I mean, where are you from?
I mean, I was born in Oklahoma.
No, boy, where are your ancestors from?
Korea, I guess.
Yeah, I knew you was Chinese.
I said Korea.
Excuse me, sir, where are you from?
I was born in the U.S. I'm Korean American.
Korea. I love me some Korea.
That's great.
And young ha say yo.
Not terrible.
I love your culture. Yo, real talented, folk. Blowing up my damn Netflix.
In the early 2000s, according to sociologist Ju Shin, Korean culture was slowly recognized as a distinctive culture and not an imitation of Chinese or Japanese culture. Famous media and videos such as Psy's Gangnam Style, BTS's Dynamite, and Korean dramas like Crash Landing on You established South Korea as an entertaining media-making empire. These media reframed South Korea from a nation associated with war, with one associated with trendsetting and modernity, allowing Americans to emotionally connect with Korean culture. Most notably, Bong Joon-ho's Parasite, which won Best Picture at the 2020 Oscars, connected to American audiences as many related with the struggles of today's capitalist society. Shin explains, quote, that Korean media portrays a way of life and represents a set of values that feels authentic to them. Even more, Shin claims that the expanding global reach of Korean movies, dramas, and music can perhaps be explained by their ability to encapsulate the zeitgeist or the spirit of the age of the 21st century. Koreans' ability to make complex and nuanced movies alongside with make medias that are entertaining and that also resonate with Western audiences differentiates them from Japan and China. In combination with media surrounding South Korea's war-torn past, modern South Korean media's ability to emotionally resonate with people creates something unique. Whereas China is framed as powerful but threatening, and Japan is associated with technological innovation, South Korea is viewed as aspirational because its success feels relatable and human. South Korea's sudden growth in popularity and power is reflected in their media, so Koreans are seen as hardworking, smart, and relatable, appealing to Americans who, too, work towards the American dream. In their eyes, Koreans have reached the American American dream, and that's why so many aspire to be like them, to eat their food, try their culture, and watch their media. That's why many fly to Korea thinking that it's just like a K-drama, because to them, Korea is a K-drama, a reality that's too good to be true. Americans don't just consume South Korean culture because it's entertaining. They consume it because Korea represents a version of success that feels attainable, a nation that transformed itself within a generation. In many ways, South Korea embodies the very ambition Americans celebrate in themselves, which is why Korean identity and Korean Americans now occupy a unique and special position in America's contemporary society.
I spent so much of my life trying to fit into America that it still surprises me seeing America trying so hard to fit into Korea.
I want to end by saying that this shift is not just about Korea. It raises a question for all of us sitting here in this classroom. How much of what we actually think we know about a country, a culture, or each other is actually shaped by what we've been shown?